All right.
All right. Yeah, so I think we finished talking about the things that your energy are, that impacts your energy. So let's keep going. Yeah, so when you don't pay attention to anything related to your energy and what's going on in your body, and you just push, 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 then again, you're very likely going to end up going too far and you're going to end up burnt out. So that's why we really want to pay attention to that and pay attention to our energy. So let's talk about assessing your energy and gauging your energy. So if you want to be more intentional in keeping your energy at that sustainable level so that you don't get to burnout, then you need to get familiar with how your energy flows, what drains it, what replenishes it. And if you've never tracked your energy, you might be really surprised at what drains it and what replenishes it. So I like to use a scale from 1 to 5. And 1 is completely drained, depleted. You literally have no energy to do anything at the moment. Your motivation to do things is just not there. And your mood is probably also pretty low at that point. Versus a 5 is pretty much the opposite. This is where you are fully recharged. So you feel like the Energizer Bunny, things feel effortless, your motivation is flowing, and your mood is usually on a high note. So I like to think of it, one other point here is you don't need to operate at a 5 every single day. I don't actually think that that's possible, but on a regular daily basis, you also shouldn't be at that lower end of the scale either. So I like to think of that, the lower end is the red zone. So you don't want to be in that red zone on a daily basis. So I like to think of it like your phone's battery. So when your phone gets in that red zone, we all know that, right? The little battery up at the top gets red. What do you do? Well, if you're like most people, or maybe it's just me, but you're probably scrambling frantically to find a charger, right? You may even have a backup battery in your purse. I know I do, because we don't want to end up caught out anywhere without, without our phone working, with a dead phone. So I would love for you to think about a 1 or 2 on the energy scale as being that red zone, the zone where you don't want to end up falling on a regular basis. And I'd also love for you to put as much priority on recharging yourself when you find yourself in that red zone as you do when you find your phone battery in that red zone. So to get better acquainted with your energy so that you can be more intentional about it, it can be really helpful to track it. You don't have to do this forever, but being intentional and paying attention means that you gain new insights, you minimize the leaks, and you prioritize the boost. So I track my energy every day. I only do it like at the end of the day now, but when I was first getting familiar with my energy, I would check it, I would track it throughout the day. Not every hour, but every couple of hours, I would just kind of stop, check in with myself, see how I was feeling, see if, if my energy had dropped, see if I could pinpoint what made it drop. If I felt more energized, maybe I'd gone out for a little walk, I could pinpoint maybe what caused my energy to get that little boost. And so from that, I was able to start seeing, just get really familiar with my own energy. So if you're not aware of how your energy flows, this is a little bit of homework for you. If you're an introvert, this is a foundational area that you're going to want to build awareness around. So in the workbook that I'm going to be providing you guys, I'll be sending it to Hillary after this call. I have provided you with a tracker sheet so you can print out, a week's worth, 2 weeks worth. You don't have to print out the whole workbook that many times, but just this one particular sheet, and keep it with you. And every few hours throughout the day, just kind of track and see where you are and see if you can pinpoint what caused you to be at that level of energy. Because to recharge your energy is to refill your cup. You need to spend some time engaging in those activities that light you up, that feel effortless, that bring you joy, that minimizes stress, and ultimately that helps calm your nervous system. So get curious and explore what refuels you. And I bet you can rattle off some things now. I bet you know some things that you can do that really recharge you. So the key is to put those in your calendar so that you start prioritizing some time to do those. Because again, you don't want to end up in that red zone. The more you can do some of those activities on a regular basis, the more you're going to stay recharged and at that sustainable level so that you're giving from, giving from that space where you have more to give. All right, so if we go back to what I was saying earlier about starting to shift your mindset around not sacrificing yourself when it comes to giving to others, we have to pay attention to our beliefs, our thoughts, and we have to shift those away from those that lead us to overgive and lean into those that allow us to build in more of that harmony so that we can stay at that sustainable level. So just a few examples of what some of those new beliefs might look like that you might want to work on, and you will have space to work on this in your workbook. Let me move that out of the way. There we go. It's not selfish to take time for myself because I can give even more. That's a good one to work on if you feel like it's selfish to take that time for yourself. Instead of filling my calendar with events and activities to prove myself or feel worthy, I'll be more impactful by approaching my schedule from a quality over quantity mindset. And finally, I'm worthy of taking time for myself. All right. So I think in the interest of time, I'm going to, because I do want there to be time for questions, I'm going to just skip this last part. I'm going to, or just rush through it and just hit a couple of points. But I do want to make sure that there's time for questions. So trusting and honoring yourself is really about listening to that inner voice and prioritizing that voice of trust and reason instead of listening to those, kind of more judgy inner critic voices. So we do have an inner compass. I call this your inner guidance system. And when we lean into this, this is really where we start to get into alignment. So I'm going to just quickly go through this, but basically when you lean and trust into your inner guidance system, it's going to tell you how to recharge. It's also going to help you to release the guilt or self-judgment when you are getting into that practice of prioritizing your needs. And then you're going to end up trusting yourself more, which is going to just help you improve your self-worth. So when you are not hearing your inner guidance, when you're not hearing that, you're not trusting it, it's generally because it's being blocked by your inner critics. So I'm not going to really go into this too much, but basically your inner critics are those judgy, mean voices that, just basically won't let you feel good about yourself. They hold you back, and they keep you in your comfort zone. So there is a difference between your inner critic voice and your inner voice, which is what I call your wise inner being. This table that is going to pop in here as I click through it is in your workbook. So I'm just going to skip over this for right now. But this goes through the differences between what your inner critic voice sounds like and what your inner voice sounds like, so that you can start to pay attention to the right voice. Because as you start to quiet the inner critic voices, you will start to hear your inner voice a little bit more. And then I just am basically providing you some different practices. I think I also have this in the workbook for you that you can do that's going to help you strengthen your connection to your inner voice. So all of these, I'll just pop them all up. So all of these are really going to get you out of your head. That's the main thing. The inner voice tends to reside in your body. The inner critics are more in your head. So if you can get out of your head, then you're going to be able to start to hear those voices. All right, so we are going to start to wrap things up, but I do want to say that now that you all hopefully have been inspired to prioritize harmony in your lives, you have the beauty of being able to support each other on this journey. So you can encourage each other to take some time to recharge. And, because when somebody else reminds you to do that, it's easier to follow through because you feel less judged. And as you guys start to learn how to prioritize this, taking care of yourself and recharging yourself so that you can give more, it's again, that work smarter, not harder, you're going to be able to exhibit that behavior to the women that you support and just model that, because I don't think that's modeled enough for women in our society. So I think that's an awesome way to start to lead those women to understand that that's important for them as well. All right, so I'll be sending this workbook over to Hillary. This again is going to allow you to go a little bit deeper with these concepts. You can explore what this looks like for you through the lens of your experiences and what's going on in your life. And you can start to look at ways that you can potentially start to integrate it and apply it to your life. So I'll be sending that over, Hillary, right after our call. And then you can send that out to anybody that wants it.
Wonderful.
And that's it. So I will wrap things up. So we've got a few minutes left, but if you do want to get in touch with me, here are my contact details. If you want to explore working with me in coaching, then there's a link there that you can follow through. And I didn't actually end up talking about inner voice sessions since we breezed through that last section, but I do inner voice sessions as well. So if you ever want to do a session where you're actually engaging with your inner voice so that you can hear what that sounds like and where it comes from, then there's a link there for you to be able to explore it.
That's great.
All right.
So Vicki, I was really excited to have you talk to the ladies and, whoa, hello.
I'm going to stop.
Try to get this.
Here we go. Okay.
All right, so I was really excited and I wish that you could have been on when we fell off the call. Because we were all talking and you really got us thinking.
Oh,
during that.
good.
So I think I can speak for all of us when I say that this was very helpful and very enlightening.
Awesome. Good. I hope I didn't go too fast, but
I have a quick question for you, Vicki.
Yep.
Yeah.
How do you fit perfectionism into all of this? Because as women, I know I'm not the only one. I'm sure there's a lot of us that feel like everything has to be just so. We have to know this, and this before we start. We have to get everything just right, and it has to be suitable for everyone.
yes, yes. Oh, that's such a great question. Perfection. I mean, I could do a whole hour just on perfectionism, but but perfectionism is definitely one of those things that really comes from a place of a fear of being judged. We don't want to be seen as making mistakes or not having all of everything together. And so I think when it comes to perfectionism, and that you're right, that can definitely feed into that. Well, I've got to show up. I can't let anybody down. So it really comes into looking at why. Why am I afraid of people not seeing me as perfect, and starting to get underneath that? But it's also just in the moment saying, hey, you know what? I'm a human being and I'm not perfect. And, especially if you don't expect perfectionism from everybody else, it's really starting to just kind of soften a little bit and allowing yourself to say, hey, you know what? It's okay if I make a mistake. It's okay if I'm not perfect. And just playing in that space. It's very uncomfortable. I used to be a little bit more on the perfectionist side myself. So I know how that feels. I've worked with a lot of clients that have had that. And so it can be very uncomfortable. One little thing that I like to have my clients do if they struggle with this is to take something small that's not really going to be too upsetting for you and intentionally do things not perfectly, just to flex that muscle and to start to get comfortable with it.
Make some cookies and don't measure anything.
Leave something out.
Bring them to us.
Oh, boy. That could be interesting.
Yes.
Yep.
Awesome. Anybody else have something that they wanted to say before we cover? I know we talked, when you mentioned the sleeping thing, I think everybody here thought, yeah, that's me. That's definitely me. Everything from I fall asleep and 5 to 20 minutes later, my entire body jerks and I wake up for no apparent reason, to someone not being able to fall asleep or waking up in the middle of the night, and menopause doesn't help at all.
Yeah. If the waking up in the middle of the night, like I shared, that happened a lot for me. Occasionally it still happens, not nearly as much as when I was still in my corporate job. But that one I've found that if when my mind is like going crazy in the middle of the night with these crazy scenarios, I just tell myself, I'm like, brain, your one job right now is to sleep. Your one job is to sleep. We can worry about this tomorrow. And I found that actually surprisingly calms it down a little bit. And I'm like, we're just going to sleep right now. And it's like giving it that job to do. And for me, at least, that seems to have calmed it down a little bit when I find myself in that space.
I've got some meditation apps on my
Oh, that's good.
phone, and one thing that they've said in some of the meditation is you don't have to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Don't put that pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
Just resting is going to be helpful.
Yeah.
And actually, if you get into that mindset, then sometimes you'll end up falling asleep.
Yeah.
If you're calm, or you're not saying, if I fall asleep right now, I have 4 hours before I get up.
That's always the worst, because then you start thinking about each minute it's ticking down how much sleep you're going to get. Yeah. Another thing I do if I can't fall asleep is I just lay there and I start down at my toes and I just start relaxing each muscle, and I move slowly at my body and relax each muscle. Usually by the time I don't even get all the way up, and then I fall asleep. because it takes your mind off of it and you're like relaxing everything.
You're concentrating so much on just that
Yeah.
individual muscle.
Yeah.
Going on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's wow.
If my mind is racing at night, sometimes I lay in bed and I close my eyes and I think about everything that I'm grateful for. And I just go
Oh.
through and I list. And it just kind of relaxes me. Makes me appreciate everything that I have.
Oh,
And I just go to sleep.
That's lovely.
I love that.
Absolutely. You talked about finding things that help you to unplug.
Mhm.
One of the things that I really enjoy is my friend Deb, who gets up every morning and walks and posts a Snapchat of her walk around the neighborhood. And it's so lovely and calm and beautiful in the morning. So thank you for that.
Beautiful.
So that's one way we can support each other. You know, little things.
Well, that's nice to know that you appreciate that, because my daughter's looking at like, oh, more nature crap.
Well, you don't stop. Don't listen to
Well,
those negative voices.
Absolutely not.
Well, I see we have reached the top of the hour. Again, I want to thank you so much for your time and all your wonderful insights. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome.
So we look forward to looking at the workbooks
Mhm.
and getting some more information on this and sharing this with the members that were not able to come today.
Yeah. Yes. And if you have questions, if anybody has questions, my email address is there. So you can always just shoot me an email and let me know if you just have other questions or clarification on anything. I'm happy to answer those questions for you.
Sounds great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. Have a wonderful evening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.